Hey everybody, it's K9 with ETX Tactical and Survival. And before we start this video dealing with first aid lacerations and controlling and dealing with open wounds that involve blood, I first want to talk and say that I was actually encouraged to do this video, to continue to do more videos by these two little munchkins that are here with me. And I want to talk real quick about the importance of having your family involved. Despite what age your family is, from a small child to teens up to young adults, having your family a part of this with you is very important for multiple reasons. One is for moral support, 2, extra set of hands, and 3, it builds family values and allows family to spend time together without the constant interruption of video games, tablets, and cell phones. My kids are with me for only a couple months out of the year. During this time, I try to take this time to teach them as much as I can about lives, about values, morals, and about the prepping and surviving. All things that will help them in some point of their life down the road. So, whenever you get the chance, don't hesitate to have your family involved. You never know what might come out of it, especially wonderful memories. So, with that said, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Alright, let's go. Alright, getting started with lacerations, open wounds, and bleeding. In this particular case, my son Cameron has injured his hand. He's cut. I can clearly see there's a lot of blood that is being taken out. So the first thing I'm going to do is assess the situation. Looking around, the scene's safe. There's no issues, no possible debris that's going to fall on us or anything like that. So I'm going to talk to my son here. Hey, you okay? You fell and hurt your hand? You cut it? Okay, let me ask you a question. Does this hurt right here? No? Okay. By him telling me that the rest of his arm is okay, that means that I'm not dealing with a possible break or fracture or anything internally on this side. I'm mainly focused on this bleeding. That's going to be my primary concern. The first thing I want to do is be able to stop this blood from coming out. That way, he doesn't bleed out. It only takes a couple minutes for a person to bleed out, and even quicker for a child. So the first thing I'm going to do is take some sterile gauze pad. Now, you should have multiple of these in your IFAK. This is to help control that bleeding and soak up the blood. Alright, you can never use too many. Now, once I have that pad on here, then the first thing I'm going to do is put pressure on where that cut is. It may be a little uncomfortable for him, but our main goal and concern is controlling this bleeding. So, by placing it there, that's going to control that bleeding, so I can then get some type of wrap up his hand to hold that gauze in place until we can get him some medical help. Alright, hold it real still for me, okay? Alright. Now, in your IFAK, you should have medical wrap, gauze, bandage, anything like that. And what you want to do is wrap it around. Have them open their thumb if they're able to. Put the wrap between the thumb and the pointer finger so you have a good controlled wrap. There you go. Don't make it too tight because you don't want to overdo it and cut off any extra blood circulation that's going to go to the rest of the hand. It's okay. So once we get it wrapped, hold that, son. Then now we can get medical attention. Hopefully, if you're in an area where you have cell phone service and you're able to make a phone call, then you've already contacted 911, told them where you're at, so that way you're able to get them out there closer to you, making medical help quicker. Now let's say for some reason my son, even after putting this gauze and wrap on, is still bleeding out. Then what we need to do is there's several other steps, okay? The first one is by using a pressure point. Everybody has what's called a brachial artery that is found on the inside of the arm. Simply take your thumb, place it inside that arm, and then push. You'll know when you're on the brachial artery because you'll feel it pulsing against your thumb. But you're going to put pressure on it until that bleeding stops. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to push it till you can't feel blood going through anymore. Just until it's enough controlled for the bleeding to stop over here. Now let's say for some reason holding this brachial artery until help comes is still not doing it. Then the last option we have is a tourniquet. And you want to use that as the last option at all cost. Because once you put that tourniquet on, it cannot come off until medical personnel take it off. And the reason why we use it as a last resort is because it literally cuts off the blood circulation to that particular appendage. So if we've had it on for quite a while, there's a chance, yes, he may lose his arm. However, it's better to lose an arm than to lose your life. Feel a lot better? And it seems that we've done a good job on controlling the bleeding. So this is how to wrap a laceration. The generalized concept is the same regardless of what area of the body that particular laceration is. You might have multiple lacerations, and that's why it's always good in your med kit or your IFAK that you have an additional items of the same thing, so that way if he had multiple lacerations, we could treat each area as itself. Alright, and continuing with the lacerations, open wounds, and bleeding, in this particular case, my daughter has found a way to cut her leg, and she has a lot of pain going up and down her leg. And that's going to indicate that there's possibly more than just a laceration. When I push here, does it hurt? Yes? Okay, what about here? No? Just up here? Okay. By her telling me that higher than that laceration is hurt, I'm going to assume that that leg has been either fractured or broken. Now, none of us have built-in X-ray vision unless you're a superhero, and in this case, I'm not. So I can only assume or feel for any possible break. I don't want to feel too much because I don't want to cause her any unnecessary pain. So we have bleeding, we have a possible break. So there's several steps that we're going to have to take on this. Because this is a large laceration, we're going to use the 4x4 bandage. We will take the bandage, or I'm sorry, the gauze pad, and we will place it over that particular laceration. Now what I'll do so I can get my other supplies is, sweetheart, will you take one hand and hold pressure on it? By her holding pressure, that's going to help hopefully control some of that bleeding. Again, we're going to use roller gauze to help hold that in place and help out with some of that pressure. Now it appears by just her holding that pressure that it has controlled the bleeding. So we don't have to do any additional steps in order to hold that blood from coming out. So what we will do is simply take our roller gauze. Alright, move your hand, baby. And we're going to wrap it in place around her leg. And again, you don't want it too tight because you don't want to cut off the blood circulation altogether. Just kind of tuck that in. Now, we've controlled the bleeding, but we still have the issue of the possible break or fracture. So, like I've said in previous videos, is we need to immobilize that particular leg. So, all I have to do, just sitting around here in the woods, I have sticks and stuff around me. That's all I need. Get you a stick, make sure it doesn't have any little limbs sticking out because you don't want to poke or cause any unnecessary uncomfortableness. We'll take our stick and we'll take our cravat. Now I'll take my stick and I'll hold it here. Let's move you over here a bit. With my cravat, can you hold that in place for me? Thank you. We don't need the triangular pattern, so we are going to roll this up in order to tie it. So once we've attached that stick to the leg, it helps keep that leg still and steady. That way we don't have to worry about if there's a break and those bones are sitting off from each other, we don't have to worry about it moving and cutting arteries and tendons and muscles. Now, this is just basic, okay? There's other issues that may be involved where you have to do more, such as if the bones, instead of breaking this way, they're sitting like this. You might have to pull and stretch that leg out, but that's a little bit more advanced training, and that's something that we can implement later on. But for a basic break or an unknown break, just to be able to get it where it's immobilized so we can get her to medical attention, this is your basic steps. Now at that point, then I would pick her up and carry her to safety, okay? Does that feel a lot better? Excellent. I appreciate y'all joining us today and being a part of our family on this video of first aid. As always, stay safe, stay smart, stay alive, and God bless. Feel free to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and on our own personal webpage, which we'll have listed at the bottom. Take care.